Hi, it's Sherri from quiltinglife.com. Welcome to our Saturday Sewcial YouTube event, and welcome to the first Saturday of 2024. I'm super excited about today's event that Corey came up with, Corey Yoder from Coriander Quilts. We have just actually started back up again with our Blockheads 5 earlier this week, and Corey thought it would be really fun to do a little round robin of YouTube videos talking about blockheads. So I'm really excited to be joined today by Joanna Figueroa of Fig Tree & Co., Corey Yoder of Coriander Quilts, Robin Pickens of Robin Pickens, Heather Briggs of My Sew Quilty Life, and Moda Fabrics. So we are all sharing videos today. They're all airing at the same time, so you can kind of hop around and watch and see what all of the different designers and Moda have to say about blockheads. I have been participating in blockheads since I was first a blockheads designer with the Blockheads Season 2. The original blockheads contained, I believe, 6 different designers, the Blockheads 1 group. And when they decided to do a round 2, each of the original blockhead designers got to choose another designer to bring into the group. And I was really excited because Joe Morton chose me, and so that's how I got to be a blockhead designer in round 2. And then in round 3 and 4 and 5, it's grown, and we just have a wide variety of participants now. So I'm going to share with you today my Blockheads 2, 3, and 4 quilts. I'm also going to show you the blocks I'm working on now and also give you some thoughts and ideas about where I'm going with those. And I also have a couple of things to share with you. One, if you don't have one already, is my A Quilting Life UFO tracker. And this is something that I just swear by. It's got spots for 15 different UFOs, and I'll be working on a different UFO each month. And the goal with this is not that you have to finish it, just that you have to make a little bit of progress. So I feel like it's a really doable goal. So you'll be able to download this from the description below. And also, I've shared this once before, but just in case you're new here, I also have this monthly block completion chart that you can download. And this is just every time you finish a block. So if you make 4 blockheads blocks in the month of January, you can color in 4 dots. And if you sew some other blocks for other projects, you can add those in. There are, I believe, 36 circles for each month. So if you're making more than 36 blocks a month, be sure to print off an extra copy for yourself. But I thought this would be really fun too, because a lot of us sew a lot of blocks at different times and don't actually finish a project, and I feel like we should be able to track that progress as well. So we've got a link for you to grab both of these printables in the description below. And now we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is my Blockheads 2 quilt, and it is actually, wow, it's really one of my very favorite quilts ever. I remember being so excited to being asked to quilt along, and so I immediately decided that I would just use scraps for this quilt. So you'll find scraps from a lot of our very early collections in here. I feel like the Clover Hollow collection had just been released, and so there is a lot of Clover Hollow in here, but a lot of the earlier ones, Creekside, and even some of our Bright Sun and Valley, and just those early Desert Bloom. A lot of those early collections can be found in this quilt. And it's so funny too, it's when you look at a quilt, I have memories of working on some of these blocks up at Bryce Canyon at Ruby's Inn. I was teaching at a retreat there, and I didn't want to get behind on my blockheads, and so in my room at night I was sewing these blocks. So it's just really fun to look at the quilt and remember that time and the things that were going on in your life when you were sewing those blocks. So another thing I want to mention right at the beginning is that all of these block patterns from the earlier Blockheads sew-alongs, starting with number 2, are still available for free online. And so I'll have links for those in the description below as well. Okay, this one was backed with Clover Hollow. And also this print that was the binding was from Harper's Garden. I think before I finished, the Harper's Garden collection must have come out. And so I was able to use a little bit of Harper's Garden. And this was one of my very favorite prints to bind things with. I just absolutely love this. And the quilting was done by Marion Bott. And I believe the pattern for this was called String of Pearls too. For some reason I remember this pattern name. I don't always remember. Okay, we're going to look at the next one. Okay, one thing I do want to mention about the Blockheads 2 quilt before I move on to this Blockheads 3 quilt is that the blocks in that quilt were all different sizes, and it was really fun to put them all together. It was kind of like a puzzle, the setting that Moda had to put them together, and it was super, super fun. This is the Moda Blockheads 3 quilt, and these blocks I believe were all 8-inch finished. And so I started out doing the same thing. I decided just to make it really scrappy. And so you can see that I have more recent collections in here. I have Summer Sweet, and I have Balboa, and I even have Happy Days. My border and my binding are from Happy Days, and my backing was from Summer Sweet. But I also went back to earlier collections, and this sashing was from Walkabout. And yeah, I just absolutely loved working on this Moda Blockheads 3 quilt. This is an all-over pattern. It was also by Marion Bott, and I think it's called Nested Clams, something like that. But they are little clam quilting sized down really tiny. And you know, I had the most fun with the blocks like this one and this one, where I just put a ton of different colors and prints together, and just really enjoyed this Blockheads quilt as well. Okay, next up I will be sharing my Blockheads 4 quilts, and yes, quilts, I made 2. With Blockheads 4 we had 2 different sizes of blocks. We had 9-inch blocks and 4.5-inch blocks. And so I decided to put all of my 4.5-inch finished blocks into one quilt. And at the time our Emma collection had come out, and so I was able to just use reds, blues, and grays from that collection. I might have snuck in a couple grays from somewhere else, I'm not sure. But I did the smaller blocks just in these colors, just to kind of make myself a table topper for summertime. I thought it would be really sweet. I also, for my setting on this one, I used the setting from my 4 square pattern to put these little blocks together. So really had fun with that. The backing is also Emma. At the same time I was making the smaller blocks with Blockheads 4, I also made the larger blocks. And for this quilt, I used all of the different colors from our Emma collection. As I mentioned, the Emma collection had just shipped when I started sewing these blocks, and I was just so in love with it and just wanted to make my entire quilt out of it, which I did, and really love how this quilt turned out as too, because it's just kind of like a sampler with that entire collection. This one I actually had custom quilting by Val Krieger. So you can see she did the little loops and little swirly things. So just really fun to have this one custom quilted. And I actually bordered all of my blocks with a tone-on-tone frame and then put them together. So it just kind of added more of a sashing without having to do a sashing. So I just, you know, sewed 2 strips to either side of my block and then 2 strips on the other side. And then I just twisted the blocks as I sewed them together so that I never had to worry about match seams. And for the border, I used this gray print that I love. And for the backing, I used blue and this red print. Okay, now I'm going to share my Moda Blockheads 5 blocks that I've done so far. I'm super happy with how they're coming along, and I've been making both sizes of blocks. I didn't put anything together after round 1 because I just wanted to keep them all and wait and decide and put them all together after round 2 is complete in July. So anyway, we kicked it off with a signature block that I am super excited about, because I'm actually haven't decided what I'm going to embroider in here, but I'll be able to embroider 2 different things. So this one might just be the year, you know, Blockheads 5, 2023, 2024. And then maybe this one will be my name and my city, something like that. Okay, then I'll just kind of go through. I had recently received our Strawberry Lemonade collection when we started, and we were able to share already. So I just started sewing with Strawberry Lemonade because it is such a happy, fun collection to sew with. And it is actually going to be arriving in stores this month. Super excited about that. So block 1 and block 2, large and small. Block 3. Let's go through block 4. Love, love, love this scrappy block. Block 5. I'm just still remembering sewing all these. It wasn't that long ago. It was last fall. Block 6. And this is block 7. This one was mine. So I don't remember everyone who designed all of the blocks, but I remember a lot of them, but I do remember this one was mine. And then block 8. This one had to have been one of my favorite blocks from round 1. I don't know, there was just something about having these partial stars in the border that I just absolutely loved. And I think this was Robin Pickens' block, actually. I think that's whose block it was. Okay, so block 9, the final block that we shared this fall, was this gorgeous foundation paper pieced star block. And I was super crazy busy getting ready for market when I was sewing these, and the holidays were coming up, and so I didn't make that block yet. I'm going to make it though, but I just substituted a block that Joanna had shared earlier. I think there was one of the blocks, it might have been this one that she didn't make, and so she shared another block. And so I just for the sake of getting a block done, I went back and made that block that Joanna had shared and decided that I will go back and make that other block with this second round. So that's on my list. I've got it printed out. I'm super excited. And of course, now I've been able to see all the beautiful versions of it. And so I have a really good idea of how I want to make it. Okay, so that was it for Blockheads 2 round 1. We finished these up in November, and there were some finishing ideas that you could download for free from Moda to make a project using just some of these blocks. There were some pillows and a banner and just a small lap-size quilt. But a lot of people, I feel like, save their blocks to put with round 2. And as I mentioned earlier, round 2 just started on Wednesday, and I shared my Dream Big block. So, and you can see how different it looks when, you know, you just kind of play around with the colors a little bit. So, and also I think this one really got changed up by me putting a print in the middle instead of a lighter background. So anyway, this was the one that was just shared Wednesday, and we are continuing now with blocks every Wednesday all the way through July, and there will be setting ideas and free patterns for that available then. I am going to switch up some of my fabrics. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to be sewing with Strawberry Lemonade all the way up until March. And then we have a new collection that we'll be sharing in March. And my blocks from March on out are going to be made with that new collection. And I'm so excited to find out how this quilt is going to be a little bit more of a scrappy vibe because of having the 2 different collections. And I think once I start sewing those blocks with the other collection, I'll get a better idea of how I want to set them too. So if you haven't joined in Blockheads 5, No worries, it's never too late to join in. The patterns are all still available. I'll have a link to my blog where you can find all of the resources that you need. And also Moda has a resources landing page that is just absolutely wonderful, where you can just scroll down. They post the blocks. The newest are at the top, so they just keep adding to the page, so you can just scroll all the way down to the bottom and get all the patterns that you need. Okay, so that's it for today's Saturday Social Moda Blockheads edition. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of my past Moda Blockheads quilts. I've actually never showed them all together in one video, so I thought this was a fabulous idea that Corey had. And remember to stop by the other videos today from Joanna at Fig Tree & Co., Robin at Robin Pickens, Corey at Coriander Quilts, Heather at My So Quilty Life, and Moda Fabrics. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for stopping by.